Hello students, I am Kamaljit Sharma, PGT Accountancy, teaching in Cambridge International School, the SUA. This lecture is prepared for the subject of Business Studies for Grade 11 Commerce. Let us recap our previous sessions. As you know, we have started the chapter number 3, that is Private, Public and Global Enterprises. In this chapter, we will cover the topics like concept of private, public and global enterprises, departmental undertakings, statutory corporations, government companies, multinational companies, joint venture and public-private partnership. Students, in the previous session, we have studied the basic concept of private, public, and global enterprises from chapter number 3. Today, we will move to our next topic of this chapter. I hope this session would benefit you in understanding the concepts. Forms of organization which a public enterprise may take are as number 1 departmental undertaking, number 2 statutory corporations and number 3 government companies. Students, let us discuss about the departmental undertaking. This is the oldest and most traditional form of organizing public enterprises. These enterprises are established as departments of the ministry and are considered part or an extension of the ministry itself. The government functions through these departments and the activities performed by them are an integral part of the functioning of the government. They have not been constituted as autonomous or independent institutions and as such are not independent legal entities. They act through the officers of the government and its employees. These undertakings may be under the central or state government and the rules of the central or state governments are applicable. Examples of these undertakings are railways and post and telegraph department. Now we will study about the features of a departmental undertaking. The main characteristics of departmental undertakings are number 1, the funding of these enterprises come directly from the government treasury and are an annual appropriation from the budget of the government. The revenue earned by these is also paid into the treasury. The second feature is they are subject to accounting and audit controls applicable to other government activities. Third feature is the employees of the enterprise are government servants and their recruitment and condition of service are the same as that of other employees directly under the government. They are headed by Indian Administrative Service officers and civil servants who are transferable from one ministry to another. It is generally considered to be a major subdivision of the government department and is subject to direct control of the ministry. They are accountable to the ministry since their management is directly under the concerned ministry. We shall discuss the merits of a departmental undertaking. Departmental undertakings have certain advantages which are these undertakings facilitate the parliament to exercise effective control over their operations. and these undertakings ensure a high level of public accountability. The revenue earned by the enterprise goes directly to the treasury and hence a source of income for the government. Where national security is concerned, this form is most suitable since it is under the direct control and supervision of the concerned ministry. There are certain limitations also of a departmental undertaking. These organizations suffers from serious drawbacks, some of which are departmental undertakings fail to provide flexibility, which is essential for the smooth operation of the business. The employees or heads of department of such undertakings are not allowed to take independent decisions without the approval of the ministry concerned. This leads to delays in the matters where prompt decisions are required. These enterprises are unable to take advantage of business opportunities. The bureaucrats are overcautious and conservative approval does not allow them to take risky ventures. There is red tapeism in day to day operations, and no action can be taken unless it goes through the proper channels of the authority. The next one is there is a lot of political interference through the ministry, and these organizations are usually insensitive to consumer needs and do not provide adequate services to them. Now we will study about the statutory corporations. Statutory corporations are the public enterprises brought into existence by a special act of the parliament. The act defines its powers and functions, rules and regulations governing its employees, and its relationship with government departments. This is a corporate body created by the legislature with defined powers and functions and is financially independent with a clear control over a specified area or a particular type of commercial activity. It is a corporate person and has the capacity of acting in its own name. Statutory corporations therefore have the power of the government and considerable amount of operating flexibility of private enterprises. Here are some features of a statutory corporation. Statutory corporations have certain distinct features which are: number one, statutory corporations are set up under an act of parliament and are governed by the provisions of the act. The act defines the objects, powers, and privileges of a statutory corporation. The second characteristic is this type of organization is wholly owned by the state. The government has the ultimate financial responsibility and has the power to appropriate its profit. At the same time, the state also has to bear the losses, if any. A statutory corporation is a body corporate and can sue and be sued, enter into contract and acquire property in its own name. The next feature is this type of enterprise is usually independently financed. It obtains funds by borrowing from the government or from the public through revenues derived from the sale of goods and services. It has the authority to use its revenues, is not subject to the same accounting and audit procedures applicable to government departments. It is also not concerned with. Let's discuss the merits of a statutory corporation. This form of organization enjoys certain advantages in its working, which are: number one, they enjoy independence in their functioning and high degree of operational flexibility. They are free from undesirable government regulation and control. Since the funds of these organizations do not come from the central budget, the government generally does not interfere in their financial matters, including their incomes and receipts. Since they are autonomous organizations, they frame their own policies and procedures within the powers assigned to them by the Act. The Act may, however, provide few issues or matters which require prior approval of a particular ministry. A statutory corporation is a valuable instrument for economic development. It has the power of the government combined with the initiative of private enterprises. Now, there are certain limitations of a statutory corporation also. In reality, a statutory corporation does not enjoy as much operational flexibility as stated above. All actions are subject to many rules and regulations. Government and political interference has always been there in major decisions or where huge funds are involved. Where there is a dealing with public, rampant corruption exists. The government has a practice of appointing advisors to the corporation board. This curbs the freedom of the corporation in entering into contracts and other decisions. If there is any disagreement, the matter is referred to the government for final decisions. Thus, further delays in actions. Today we will discuss about the government company. A government company is a company in which not less than 51% of the paid up share capital is held by the central government or the state government or jointly by both. For example, Hindustan Insecticides Limited, State Trading Corporation of India, Hindustan Cables Limited. Here are few features of a government company. The first one is it is registered or incorporated under Companies Act 1956. It has a separate legal entity. Management is regulated by the provision of Companies Act. Employees are recruited and appointed as per the rules and regulations contained in Memorandum and Article of Associations. The government company obtains its funds from government shareholdings and other private shareholdings. It can also raise funds from the capital market. Now we will learn about merits of a government company. The first one is it can be easily formed as per the provisions of Companies Act. Only an executive decision of government is required. It enjoys autonomy in management decisions and flexibility in day-to-day working. These are able to control the market and curb unhealthy business practices. Students, despite of certain merits, there are few limitations also. The first one is it suffers from the interference of government officials, ministers, and politicians. It evades constitutional responsibility which a company financed by the government should have, as it is not directly answerable to parliament. Then the board usually consists of the politicians and civil servants who are interested more in pleasing their political bosses than in efficient operation of the company. In this session, we have discussed about one more of the type of the public enterprises, that is government company, its feature, merits and limitations. I hope this session would be beneficial for you. In the next session, we will continue our next topic. Till then, dear students, to stop the COVID 19, stay home. If you don't think about yourself, think about your loved ones. So stay home, please, but study regularly.